So I have a really fun project tonight. Of course, I feel like I say that every time, but it's gonna be making a garland. I did a whole bunch of steps before so that we weren't here for, you know, years. But so we're gonna be using watercolor paper, and I'll just kind of show you everything. So let me just tip this down and we'll get started. Oh, oops, let me move my tea. I always get messed up with the whole like flipping the screen. Like it's like I don't know where to put anything so that it's like off camera. Okay, so I'll kind of show you what I did ahead of time, and I just did this because it's just I think it's just a little easier, and it's, you know, for me to do this we'd be here forever, and then I'm blow drying them and, you know, everything. So some of these are kind of a little, I love the look of, like, you know, they're a little like rough looking. I'll pretend like that was intentional. But how it happened with this time, some of my paste was like a little bit dry, and then plus I tried to use the transfer and like use it a couple times in a row, because sometimes you can do that. It just kind of happened with this transfer. I think the combination of, you know, using it multiple times in a row and my paste being a little dry, it kind of lifted a little bit, but that's okay because I really like that look. So I'll just kind of show you, these are the ones I did so far. And so what I'll do is I'll kind of do like one set of them to show you. And so yeah. So some of them you can see I just let the white of the watercolor paper show through, and some of them I went and I put the second layer on. Now something like this you could totally do by tracing a cookie cutter. Again, another like great project. I know all my friends, like, you know, their kids are home and, you know, I'll be nice, driving them nuts, but that's not how they say it to me. And you could just have them, I mean, you could even have them like paint on the watercolor paper first, and then, you know, flip it over and just go and, you know, trace cookie cutters and cut them out. So, and then I was kind of just playing around. So this one here on the top is done with the transfer. Then while the transfer was wet, I was like, oh, I wonder what would happen. So I put it down after doing like this set of them, and just kind of like wiped the transfer off, and I thought that looked really cool too. It's just kind of like a watercolor look. Obviously it doesn't match with what I'm doing, and I keep seeing decorations with all these like bright colors, especially like this kind of, well, a little like more lime green than that, but I thought it'd be fun to kind of do like a bright, you know, like bright colors like that. So let's see. So this is the watercolor paper I used. This is just really inexpensive watercolor paper, just from, I always forget which craft store is which brand. I want to say Michael's. I'm pretty sure Michael's. You know, I definitely wouldn't get like expensive paper. This is definitely, you know, definitely fine. And I'll tell you, I actually do watercolors and I like this paper. I mean, I've used some of that really, you know, super expensive paper too, and it's really nice, but I feel like then you worry about ruining it. This, it's, you know, a couple bucks for the pad, and you could use a coupon or whatever. So, okay, so I'm just gonna take, let me get this out of the way. I'm gonna just take a sheet, and now this, obviously, I've used this transfer a lot, or you see by my little pile, but before, especially on paper, before I put it on the paper, let me just see which way. The paper does have, shoot, I tore it out because I was trying to be, I think it's this way. I don't know that it matters so much with this, but when you're painting with watercolor, it does kind of matter. It does have like a front and a back side. So I like interrupted myself, and then I don't know what I was gonna say. So I'm just gonna fuzz this. Now, because I know, like, I've actually used this on another project. I'm like thinking, like, can I get the project down without like knocking other stuff off my display? Probably not. I don't want anybody watching to feel like they need to call like 911 or something for me. So I'm just gonna you know, lay it down. Now if you look, this is probably actually good because it's on the white paper. There are little registration marks. Oops. If I line it up right. Little registration marks. So once you do this and let it dry, you then come back with, if you want, with the second layer. And then you have your little registration marks here that you would just line up right over there. Some of these things too, like I just kind of eyeball it and look, but you know, I guess it depends on the, you know, the piece you're doing. So I'm going to do, oh, I already did that color. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'll just do this color again. That wasn't originally what I had planned, but I think when I cleared up my table from doing those, I put all the other colors away. So I just use this, so I know it's good to go. But normally I would, you know, stir it and make sure that it's like at a, you know, cake batter, kind of pancake batter consistency. Now you do have to be mindful on the paper. It does kind of absorb into the paper, so it's gonna dry kind of quick. And I feel like it takes a little more paste than like say on a chalkboard. Now I'm leaving it on like a little bit thick just to give me time to kind of get, to get these other ones done. Cause you know, it doesn't really matter. If I use too much, I just scoop it off and put it back in. But if I leave it on the thicker side, it doesn't have like a chance to dry out. Should have done like a dark color so you guys could see the, so now I'm going to hit that little registration mark. And now we're going to just scoop off all this extra. Let me just maybe grab a bigger squeegee. There we go, perfect. Just so I could go a little faster. And then just put it right back in. And again, it wouldn't matter if I kind of went off the side there because it's just paper. Just kind of get all your excess. You don't want to keep like going over it too much because you don't want to like make the transfer lift or the, you know, where the paste kind of push under the squeegee. I mean, under the squeegee, oh my gosh, under the transfer. So now I want to make sure that I kind of pick it up at an edge and then I'm going to pull it from the center. And then not put your fingers where it's wet. Okay. So now this part of the transfer, see if you look like right here, I think it's just the combination of the paper, the paste, I don't know, it kind of does stick on there, so it gives it that like, I don't know, what do you call it, like rustic look. So behind me I have a little tray. I was trying to block it when I started the live because it has a whole bunch of transfers on it that I need to wash. So I'm gonna lay it on there, and then what I like to do, I just have my little spray bottle. I kind of just spray it with water just so that it doesn't like dry in there. With the paste, it's not like a huge deal if you don't, you know, clean it up right away. With ink, you really want to, as soon as possible, clean the transfer because like the paste will soften again if you, once you know, wet it. But the ink, once it dries in the little open mesh area, you know, it's gonna be, it's gonna block it. So I'm just gonna put that aside. And just so we don't have to wait for that to dry, I'm just gonna move on to this one. Now, if you look, there's a lot of area here that is like solid. So obviously we're not gonna be running like paste over this part, just here, you know, just the little areas that show up in white. I also, because this is freshly done, I don't wanna like put the transfer on and then like really push it into, you know, into the paste that we just put down, or that I just put down like right before I came live. So we're just peeling it off the backer. Remember, I always write on the back, oops, that way, so that I know what it goes back on and to help me know which side to put it back on. Because there's the shiny side and the dull side. We always want to put it back on the shiny side. Then we have our fuzzing cloth. And if you don't have a fuzzing cloth, that's okay. You could just use a towel. Just kind of stick it a couple times. Now, I'm not super worried because, again, I've already just used this a whole bunch of times. So now this one, I didn't do the little registration marks, but you'll see as I kind of lay it over, and I'm just like kind of gliding it across. Those polka dots are a little bit wider than the foot, but I'm kind of just looking at the stocking in the middle, and then I'm kind of looking here and down here. I'm not really worried about up here. That's not really like a big deal. But I want to make sure that I fill those areas so I don't have gaps. Okay, so now I'm just gonna press it like that. So I don't want to go across that because that might lift that paste. And we're not gonna spend a lot of time going over the, you know, areas that already have paste, because what it'll do is this paste, because it's wet, it's gonna like kind of reactivate that other paste, and that's when you get like the lifting. And if you're nervous of doing layers, you can go and put like the wax, shoot, I thought I had it right here. There's wax from Couture that is like, it's like a little bigger, it's bigger than this. And you could just take it, a little cloth, and just kind of go over where you've already pasted, and it just kind of creates a little barrier. So I'm gonna do this one last, and that's like way too much paste. The other thing you could do too is you can do this and, like, you know, do that, lift it and move on to the next one if you're, especially if you were like doing a whole bunch of colors. So we'll do this first one, we'll do it by lifting. So we'll kind of just get it started from the corner. Ooh, I like those two colors together. And then just kind of give it a second. Oh, it wasn't quite lined up, but that's okay, because once you cut it out, it doesn't really matter. And then I'm not gonna press anything down, and I know I didn't lift where my next one was. Let's see. So that means all of these are probably a little bit off, but that's all right. So especially like this part I'm doing right now, you don't want to like mess with it too much, and I don't want to like clean it off either. I'm leaving it just as it is. Like, you know, normally we go back and we get our excess paste, but that section, because I don't want to mess with that, because it's on top of the other one. And now this one I want to be same thing. I don't want to like really clean it off. I want to just kind of, I don't mind that I'm losing some of the paste right on top of the transfer, because just kind of get rid of those lines, and then just hang on to it and peel it off. Yeah, see, I was like a little bit crooked, but that's all right. So same thing, I have my tray behind me here, and I'm just gonna set this on there. Oops, and get it all over my hands. And just spray a little water, just so they don't dry out. So now I'm gonna let this dry, and then I'll, after the video, come back and I'll cut these out. I will tell you, this watercolor paper, not a big deal cutting out a couple, but like I cut out 18 of them. Thought I was gonna have like carpal tunnel. So originally, this is the other piece that comes with it. So the stockings were hung. I don't have watercolor paper wide enough to do this because I was like, oh, maybe I could put that in the middle and then put like the stockings to either side of it. And then I thought I could put like, you know, the stockings and then were hung like underneath it by turning the paper that way. But I think I'm just gonna not use this and just do just the stockings. I think that would be really, really cute. But let me just grab the one off my wall and hope that I don't knock down anything. Because I want to show you what, oh good. So this was one I did for, I did an event over Thanksgiving weekend, or the weekend after Thanksgiving, I should say. So this is what I was like talking about here. I don't have anything big enough to do that. So what I did with these though, this is like, you know that little kids craft foam? It's that, like, I don't know, I forget what it's called, like fun foam or whatever. I don't know, it has a few names. And then I just did the same thing. This like surface was like a little bit weird to chalk on. So, I had like a lot of the paste was like lifting. I feel like I had to go really heavy with it. So anytime you switch to like, you know, do different surfaces, you kind of have to just try it out, you know, what's going to work best. And then instead of really like leaving them kind of as they were or doing the second layer, just because with the first layer, I had a lot of lifting with the paste, I actually went and had like little ribbons and little, you know, all that kind of stuff, and I glued those on, just hot glued them on. So, and these little clothespins come like flying off, and it's very alarming when it happens. So, and then this is just like, you know, a string, and I'll just kind of flip it to the back. I just literally like taped it and I put like a little dot of glue to hold it in place. So that way, after the holidays are over, I can just yank this string right off and use this for something else. So, let me just move this. And I will tell you, doing those little stockings, I burn my fingers so many times. So I'm just gonna take this one and move it to the side. All right, so now these, I already went and I punched little holes in them just in the corner. Let me just move some of this stuff out of the way. Okay. So really you just kind of have to decide your pattern. Now I am going to kind of change the pattern only because the ones I just did behind me, the blue ones I want to add into this. So it'll be another color. So some of them go in one direction and some go in the other. So let's see, I just kind of, I didn't really like make a pattern with it when I did it before, but I did have it kind of laid out. And then, because I felt like these are different enough that doesn't really matter. So I just kind of spread them out and just made sure like the same colors weren't like right next to each other. And when I do put this together for like the final, like my final time, I'm going to, and I'm like totally off the side here. Wrong direction. Like Carol just kind of throws them this way. I am gonna, I totally lost what I was gonna say. So when I put it together for the final time, I am gonna tie them in you know, in a spot so they don't all kind of go like that as they're tied. But, so just kind of go through and like mix up the colors. I feel like a little kid now. I'm like, nope, that's too close to that other purple one. It's like, all of them are too close. All right. But I wanted to do so many like colors that it really didn't, you know, it didn't matter. All right, so we'll tuck that one in there. And I didn't want it to have like a pattern. This one is I say that and then I'm like, no, I want to move it. So to string them together, I'm just going to use, this is baker's twine. I initially was going to use ribbon, but I didn't have any. I had like probably like a 6-inch piece of the ribbon that I wanted to use. And I'm like, well, that's not going to work. So I remembered I had this baker's twine. And actually, let me just show you. This is going to look crazy if you've never seen one of these. This is the hole puncher I used. This looks like it's going to like kill somebody. This thing, I'm telling you, if you do crafts, this, I really gotta do a commercial for it. So it's called, oh, I always forget, a crocodile or something, I don't know. So it does a couple of things. So this is actually, this part I've never used before. This part right here and this part right here are the hole punches. So it does like these tiny, it does like tiny holes. Let's see, like little holes. And then the other side is like more like closer to a regular size hole punch. And they have like, I think they have all different sizes. But you could put like in this part here, you could put like those little, I don't know, I want to call them like rivets, but that's probably not what they are. But there's, you know, or like snap things or whatever. But anyway, I don't really care about that. This, so it's got little like measurements. You can do, every hole is going to be exactly the same, you know, the same distance, obviously same size. This like cuts through metal and through like heavier things. Now this already has a hole in it. Hold on, I just like can almost reach it. So like these, like you see how thick that is? It cuts right through that. Like it would put a hole in that. So it's pretty, if you're, you know, if you're into crafts, it's definitely something you need. So if this takes me like a long time to string these, I'm not gonna string them on my live. So yeah, it's not gonna take me long. I'll just put a couple on, just cause you know, we all have lives to lead. We don't need to watch me string all these. So, and again, like I said, I would definitely, when I put this together, like for the real deal, when those other ones are finished, I am gonna like tie them in place, or maybe kind of just glue them. Okay. And I'll just show you my little trick. It's not like my trick, but it's starting to, so it's starting to like fray. You can't even see it. Like, see how it's doing that? So what you can do, if you don't have like, this is so thin, you could probably use like a sewing needle. I'm sorry. I'm like just throwing stuff here. Just take a piece of tape. You could use like Scotch tape or masking tape, whatever, and just kind of put it in there. And then, oops, I'm not on camera. That's always when I try to show something. And then just kind of trim away extra, and then give yourself a nice like point. Oops, it's kind of crazy. So almost like make yourself like a little needle for it. And it makes it a lot easier. Okay. I just want to put a couple on so that I can kind of lift it, and then whichever way you want to put it, going from the front, from the back, whatever. I was just thinking, like, I wouldn't really go with like my tree, because my tree is like a lot of like Hallmark ornaments and like that kind of thing. But you know, like people that do like the trees just in like a certain color theme or whatever, you know, the people that have like 5 trees in their house and do that. This would be really cool to make a garland like that would go around your whole tree, and do that. And this was, you just use all the colors that you're, you know, are in the tree, or like black and white. I always think that looks pretty. It's not, you know, it's very untraditional, but so yeah, I definitely am gonna have to like secure them. Let me just set this out of the way. So that is our little garland. a very tiny version of it right here. But again, like this is something you could do and use all kinds of other things. This would be cute too, even just taking like, you know, taking like having the kids take a cup, trace the circle around the top. They could, you know, paint the paper first, paint it second, punch holes. I know everybody's always looking for stuff to like, you know, amuse the kids. So, you know, especially when you're working from home. But, all right, so that's our project for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'll stage a little picture and, I don't know, try to figure out somewhere to hang this since I don't have a mantle or anything. And I have something over my slider already, but I'll figure out a way to get a nice picture of this. All right, have a great